Hi, welcome to Game Dev London. Today's Diagnosis Game Dev is a little bit different because I'm going to be playing with Unreal 5. This is something that dropped last week. If you're unaware, Unreal Engine 5 has some amazing new lighting and rendering tech in it that I'm really keen to explore. So I thought it would be worthwhile having a poke around in the engine. This is in early access. It's free to download now. You can get it from you can get it through the Epic Store, which is where I downloaded it from. And I've not fired it up before at all. I've used Unreal Engine 4 a little bit on other people's projects. So I've come into somebody else's project that they've set up and done some work, but I've not made my own project in Unreal from scratch. So this is going to be, and also I've been out in the garden today because it's glorious weather. I'm completely unprepared for this, and it's going to be completely honest. So let me move my camera into the corner. Let's see. We have a whole bunch of starting templates. So interestingly, they've added, as you can see here, film, architecture, and sort of like product design templates, as they're trying to push Unreal into these additional sectors beyond games. But for my purposes, I'm looking to just make a first-person environment that I can play around with and see what it looks like. So let's go for that. We'll do. Oh, you can do a C++ project. That's interesting. Desktop quality maximum, starter content, and ray tracing. Now, this is an interesting thing. The new tech in Unreal Engine 5, I don't believe requires ray tracing. So I'm going to leave that turned off, and we'll see. We're going to call this test. I'll call it test project. I should have left it as my project. That would have been fine. Test project. It's going to put it there, is it? It'll do. Let's create it. Okay. Ding 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 ding. Importing starter content. Right, first person template. Right. So first things first, this is project file is out of date. I think it's out of date. I've only just created it. Content drawer. Right, so this is one of the key things is control and space. There we go. Brings up the content drawer. Unreal 5 is much more modular in the sense that all of the different windows are off screen. You bring them on as you need them, and that gives you a lot more real estate to explore. So what have we got? First person template. So this is interesting. And the moving the camera around is the opposite direction to Unity. So if I click the middle button and I move the mouse to the right, we go to the right, whereas in Unity it's like you're grabbing the world and you're dragging the world, and I'm dragging the camera instead. That's going to take some getting used to, but it's got a consistent sort of like right button and then WASD flies you around. So if I focus on that as a priority, that's pretty good. Let's just give it a quick play and see how that works. Here we go. Okay, so this is my first person template. So that's nice to have the game set up with physics and shooting and stuff just to begin with. Right, now I'm just trying to figure out what it is that is making my eyes go slightly squiffy when I'm looking around, and I think it's the motion blur. Yeah, if I do that, you can probably see that there's some quite strong motion blur on there. I'm not entirely sure I like that, to be honest, but it is what it is. Okay, so back out there. There's my little first-person rig with which I love this comically over-engineered 3D camera icon. That is so ridiculously over the top. Interesting that it's got is that a set of headphones next to it? No, it is literally a professional level camera with like a focus pull ring and a viewfinder, and it's even got these little forgotten what they're called, the little beams that are used for mounting sort of like lenses and things on the front of the camera. They're really trying to promote this as something that filmmaking professionals could get on with. So let's see. Let's bring that content browser back. Let's have a look. This is the starter content. This is what we've got in here to begin with. What have we got? Props. So we've got some things like, so I can put a chair in here, and I can turn it around. There we go. So these handles are very nice. Let's have a closer look at that. Ding, ding, ding. I quite like the fact that it snaps to 10-degree increments, because, to be honest, that's good for most of your cases. You generally want stuff to be either axis aligned or rotated to an arbitrary angle, in which case 10 degrees is plenty. You don't really need the granularity of down to sort of like single degrees or less. Let's have a quick look at what other props we've got. What have we got here? Table. So we can put table in. We can make ourselves a little scene there. What I'd really like to do is find the Quixel integration. Where is that? Let's have a look. Viewport. So we've got cinematics, content browser. You can have a lot of content browsers. How do I get Quixel? Because I believe that Quixel Megascans is now integrated into Unity 5 somewhere in here. Let's have a quick look. Basics, blueprints, landscape. I say now landscape will be interesting. I presume that landscape will also work with Nanite. What I really want is the Quixel Megascans, just so I can see how Nanite performs with incredibly complex objects. So let's have a look at basics. Oh. I have a bunch of buttons for different tutorials, but I can't actually do anything with them. No. I'm not sure what... no, not now. There we go. So that's a little bit unhelpful. Right, what have we got here? That's file stuff. That's edity things. Place actors. Data layers is a new feature, which is the idea that you can place objects on different layers, which means that you can have it creates a bit of separation of objects in the scene, so that you can have an artist working on making the level look nice, while you have a game designer placing waypoints or nav meshes or trigger volumes for gameplay in the same scene, and they can work together without stepping on each other's toes. It can be tricky to merge scenes if two people have modified the same one. Oh, come on, somewhere in here. Tools. This is the price of coming in completely cold and trying to... So, oh, here we go. So build text streaming data and virtual textures. This is interesting. So this is an awful lot of... This goes to show, this list of things that you can build goes to show how much of the world is... of the work for rendering the scene is pre-computed and cached, so that the engine can draw things extremely fast. So it will generate renderer-friendly versions of the geometry, the paths, the LODs, the texture streaming, everything. Let's see, build all landscape, global illumination textures only, grass maps only. Okay, but none of that. That's all build stuff. None of that is actual. Let's see. Well, we've got world outliner. So that is the hierarchy of the scene, and that plus the details for the currently selected object. There we go. So we've got a chair, or we've got a table. There will be other things. So source control is currently off. Oh, content drawer. That is the same one that I was looking at before. So how can I get at Quixel from there? I want to import, look in layout settings, show favorites. Well, we've got a rock. That's quite detailed. How many triangles is that, I wonder? Can we? That's the, because that might be a good demonstration for the power of nanite. If it is, can I switch to? Excuse me. Can I switch to wireframe view in here? Cinematics. That's different modes. Play and platforms. What have I got there? Selected viewport. That's all for playing. I don't want that. Oh, hang on. There it is. Lit. I'm an idiot. Wireframe. Okay, so that is that rock is quite a detailed rock, but it's certainly not nanite level. Is it now? Oh, nanite visualization. That's interesting. Triangles. Mask, triangles, clusters, primitives, instances, overdraw, material complex. Fascinating. I can probably figure out some more stuff about how nanite works from looking at that. Let's go back to lit for the moment. Okay, so bear with me while I have a quick. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just the top of that cube. Bear with me while I have a quick Google to see how I can get Quixel integration. UE5 open Quixel. Quixel Bridge. There we go. How do I open Quixel Bridge in the editor? Content drop down. Content. There it is. Quixel Bridge. There we are. Right. Okay, here we go. So we have surfaces, we have models, we have. Let's have a look at 3D models. So we have some cool stuff here. So what I'm going to do first off is let's see. So this is our entire scene currently. So I'm going to leave that alone. First off, let's plonk a terrain down. I reckon landscape editing mode. Right, so do you actually have a landscape, or does it just allow you to section size? I think it might just give you landscape editing mode, give you a section of landscape, which it will then just expand in different directions as you go. That would kind of make sense. So I'm used to Unity's landscape editor. I have not. So sculpt. I've got no I've got no landscape, so I do need to create one. So create new material. Do I have a material? Oh, there we go. Ground grass. There we go. We can use grass for the landscape and section size. That looks fine. Fill world. Let's create that. Okay. So now we have. There we go. We now have a landscape which I can sculpt a bit. So let's see if we can brush type, tool settings. Ideally, what I would like is some sort of stamping tool so that I can paint nice landscape in there. So okay, well I'll paint some lumps around here. and we'll see how good. Oops, that's a bit. Oh god, that undid a lot. I don't want it to be ridiculously big, but let's just. There we go. So we've got some hills outside this box. Let's take a wall away. Let's go back to normal mode. Let's take a wall away so that we can get out of there. Wait a minute. That looks like we might have an invisible collision box there. I don't know if that... Oh, okay, it's a box around there. It might be a post-effect box or something like that. Let's have a quick look. Let's just check this and see what we've got. Okay, so now I can get out into my landscape. Yeah. Climb a hill. See what I can see. Right. Too steep. Okay, I can get up a hill and I can look back on my little arena. Okay. Got to say, currently, this is not looking all that pretty because I suspect the sun is so high that there's no shadows on the landscape. So, first things first, let's get the let's get this content drawer up. Oh, hang on, content, Quixel Bridge. Can I dock this somehow? These are all very nice. Right, let's have some big rocks. Nordic Beach Rock Formation. Okay. Oh, do I need to sign in before I can use it? Looks like I might do. Let's. Right, I'm just going to take my. I'll sign in with my Epic account. I'm doing this off screen. Oh crumbs! I can't remember what my Epic account email was. Let's try that one. Log in now. It looks like I remembered correctly. Allow. Yes, there we go. Okay, so I have signed in. Go unlimited. Yes. Unlimited access. Get now. Okay, yes. So these megascans are licensed for use only with Unreal, which is reasonable because Unreal bought megascans. Yeah, they don't want people to buy them. Well, that did a thing. What has happened to the shadows? Oh, and they fixed themselves. How fascinating. I wonder if that is because of Lumen. What I've noticed with the demos, that Lumen is the lighting system that Unreal uses is time sliced, so it takes several frames to accumulate the right amount, enough data to correctly render the lighting for the current state. So when they change the lighting in the demo, you can see it takes a few frames to shift to catch up with the new light position. I think it would be interesting. Right, so can I duplicate that? Let's. I don't know why I can't lift it any higher than that. Oh, I can lift it higher than that. Okay, so let's. Right, there we go. So if I put a roof on half of this, and then we'll see what. Oh, hang on a minute. I wanted. In fact, you can see it happening there. You can see that taking time to adjust. If I slam the roof down, it darkens slowly over time. You can see it's playing catch up there. Let's and it brightens up again, and it just takes a little while. But that's Unreal spreading the workload across multiple frames. So if I could copy paste, Yeah, that has created a copy. There we go. Right, so now if I'll plonk that on as a lid, I'll open it up partially, and we should get some nice sort of like light spill into the dark area. So there's no direct light on that surface, but it's getting a bit of bounce. Can play around with that. So what I actually wanted was, let's just go back to the content, Quixel Bridge. Right, so I'm now, yeah, there we go. I'm now signed in, so I can download some big rocks. What's this one? Nordic Coastal Cliffs. So I love that they are completely open about where they captured this these assets. So if I now go add, successfully exported one asset. Have I added it? Hang on, has it put it in? Add. Nordic Beach Rock Formation. There we go. So Megascans. So it's inserted it into my content drawer under Megascans 3D Assets Nordic Beach Rock Formation. So there it is. So I can plonk that right there. Let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at this. So first off, let's check the wireframe. So that looks like a standard wireframe, not a nanite mesh, to be honest. So because that is not nearly high resolution enough for compared to the stuff that they were showing off in the demo. So let's go back to lit. I mean, it looks lovely, but that has been very clearly sort of like optimized for a more traditional game engine usage. Let's go back to Quixel and see what we can find. Nature. Just wondering if no, there's nothing for nanite. So what we want is something that's like just really, really high resolution. Seabed, rock, boulder. This is apparently more Nordic Beach rocks. Let's download those. This is pretty easy. It's got to be said, way of pulling down assets. So this, I mean, I'll leave it in there because it looks nice. Doesn't really fit on a rolling meadow, but it's just for testing. Oh yeah, the other thing that I was going to do was find the light source. There we go. So we can get some long shadows from the. Let's see, we've got. So now the landscape is actually casting some shadows, which it wasn't before. There we go. And you can see that we've got some bounced light. So this area, which although it's not in direct sunlight, it's picking up ambient light from the sky, and then this area is pretty much almost pitch black, because the only lighting available is bounced from here. I feel like it should be a bit brighter in there, to be honest, given the brightness of the sky. It could be that the luminance of the primary light source isn't quite high enough. Let's just have a quick look. Oh, there we go, light colour. So intensity 2.75 lux. Now I'm not sure what a lux actually means in light measurement. So I'm just going to bang that up to about 9. There we go. That immediately gives us a lot of bounced light on the ceiling, which is cool. Because this is what I want. I just want it to be obvious to see what it's doing, and also you can see that there's this pool of light on the floor here, where the light is bouncing off these cubes. Cubes, that's what they're called. 20 years in the industry, I can't remember what a regular cuboid is called. Okay. So now we've got some very bright light. Could do with the skylight actually being a bit brighter as well. So how many lumens is that? Light, volumetric scale, billboard, distance field, atmosphere and cloud, ray tracing, skylight. Is there not some sort of brightness somewhere in this? I have a transport light, real-time cap, source, cube mount, sky distance. Oh, intensity scale. There we go. So there is a scale based on the. It's a cube map sky, so it defaults to the intensity that comes from that cube map. But if I make it twice as bright, then there we go. So you can see it's now a lot brighter. That looks a bit more natural to me for direct sunlight, having this reasonably well lit, and we've now got some serious. It's still pretty dark in here, even though we've got a very bright light shining just down there. Oh, hello. That was weird. I just saw a missing shadow just at the base there, and then I went over closer to it, and it fixed itself. So that's interesting. Ooh, look! You can see that. Is that a ray traced reflection of this light patch? It might actually just be like a feature of Lumen rather than hardware ray tracing. My card can handle hardware ray tracing, but I turned it off because I wanted to see what Nanite would do without the ray tracing. Let's get some bigger assets in, and I haven't added it to my scene yet. Content, Quixel Bridge. I need to dock this or move it off screen or somewhere so that I can. So I need to add that. Successfully exported one asset. So that is should now be in my content drawer. There we go. So I can now plonk some more rocks alongside. Now what kind of, they look fairly already quite well optimized as well. What I want is something really ridiculously high poly. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, there we go. There's the Quixel Bridge. What is the 3D assets? All sizes. Let's go with the biggest size. Layered boulder. Let's download that. Oh, hang on. Medium quality. Oh, set the quality to Nanite. They're all available in Nanite. I'm an idiot. Okay, there we go. Learning as I go. So, if I layered boulder, if I download that in in its Nanite form, that's going to take a little while, even though I'm on Fiber. So while I'm doing that, let's see what we can do. I mean, there's not really a lot of point in messing with these because I've downloaded low poly versions of them. They're not really going to be particularly representative. That rock has no collision by default. Interesting. Ding. Oh, look at this. Okay, so now this is moving. Check out the lighting around it. Let's knock one off the top of this. In fact, let's knock it over that way into the darkness so you can see the light change around it. That's really cool. So there's some little artifacts just there where it touches the floor. Oh no, It's the text. It's the text that's clipping through it. But that is really good. To just handle all that bounce light just at runtime, pretty much. You can see there's a very slight lag of a few frames, but it's not a lot. Very impressed with that. I can't push them around, only the bullets do that. Okay, let's exit out of that. And where's my nanite? It has downloaded it, let's add it. Successfully exported one asset. Back to Unreal. Ooh. Crackbolt. Okay, so it doesn't give me a preview. Oh no, it's maybe doing that in the background. It's looks like it's rendering previews in the background. So let's try putting this. Waiting for. Oh, it's not quite ready. Again, this is all in line with Unreal's general methodology of doing as much stuff as it possibly can in the background, so in order to keep everything running silky smooth in the foreground. So basically, there we go. It took a little while, but okay. So this is fascinating. Right, I'm going to bang that down there. So this is a proper nanite mesh. Oops. Okay. So first things first, let's check the poly count. Can't even see the poly count for this one because the way that nanite works, I suspect it's not actually. It's not sending the model mesh to the GPU. Is there a nanite visualization? That's what we want. Triangles. Okay, so here we go. So nothing else in my scene is nanite. Only this is. But you can see that it lodding in chunks, can't you? Okay, so this is where I try to explain how I think this is working. So what we've got here, if we zoom all the way in, right, we have got this ridiculously high resolution triangle mesh here, and then what they do is they turn the model into a voxel representation. You can just about see, if I move in and out, you can see that the patches that are changing are quite chunky. I suspect that those are voxels. So think of it as like basically like Minecraft cubes. And then what it does is it each of those it slices the model up into voxels, and then it takes each of those voxel surfaces, the surface that fits within that voxel, it makes that a triangle cluster, and it automatically loads that particular cluster along with the texture that's associated with it. And so it is lodding, but it's doing that entirely automatically, entirely offline, and entirely in the background. So effectively what you get is MIP mapping on models, and this builds on Unreal's strategy of using heavy use of MIP mapping and texture streaming in the engine to keep everything. I've noticed there's a little bit of boiling going on there, and I'm not entirely sure why. I wonder if it is. I'm not sure where that fizz is coming from. This is the editor window as well. It's possible that's could be a bug, could be something that it's doing in the editor. Maybe it will be a little bit faster if I go in play mode. If I go in play mode, what happens? Let's have a look. Right. Right, there we have our nanite mesh. Right, so let's have a look at this. A little bit of stutter going on there. Right, this side is easier to see because it's a bit more contrasty. I mean, that is extremely detailed when you get up close. Again, that motion blur is really doing my head in. It's a little bit strong for my taste. Oops. Look at that. There's a little bit of... oh, hello. I had not noticed that when I rotate, I'm not actually rotating around the camera position. The camera is rotating around the gun, which you can tell if I stick the gun through the wall. That's an interesting default first-person setup that I would want to fix immediately, because that's just weird. I don't like that. So, yeah, there we go. It's pretty seamless on this. Let's see how it handles using a few more of these. So that is definitely a nanite mesh, and you can see it doing the lodding there. The way that I think that this works, basically, if I go back to lit, the way I think that this works is that it is taking it's building this voxel system for Lumen. So it's having to do a lot of voxel casting for resolving the way that light flows through the scene and bounces around and so on. I think it's using a similar trick to voxel cast towards this model. When it hits the surface, when it hits a voxel, then it says sort of like, right, that triangle cluster is visible because we hit it, so that needs to be rendered. And it basically accumulates a list of all of the triangle clusters at whatever LOD is appropriate on the side of the model that is facing towards me. So if I'm miles away from it, you could just see it doing a little bit of. There's a little bit of a LOD change just there. Can you see down on the bottom bit there? If I go backwards and forwards a bit, you can just see some of the detail disappearing away there. So, but it's great that this is completely automated. So right, let's do the classic test of taking this model and duplicating it. Ooh, Z fighting. Right, we'll have one of those. We'll have one of those over there. If I was more familiar with Unreal, I would totally have scripted this to make it a bit quicker. But I should probably leave some gaps actually, so that there's room to explore a bit. Let's leave a gap there. Let's leave gaps in between them so that we can move around. But if I make a line of these, and then group them, and then duplicate that to make a whole field of these huge things. Actually, as an experiment, copy, Control V. Let's put a giant one over here. In fact, we'll put it right there, right next to that. And then these things, let's have a look. Camera cracked boulder. So we've got all of these except for the last one. Okay, hang on a minute. Let's can I group those in that? What I really want is that oh, there we go. I can attach them all to something else. Actually, maybe I've just got the way that I would do this in Unity is that I would cubes, arena, cubes. Oh, I see. Sorry, they're on the top layer. So if I create a folder, it's weird calling it a folder because that makes it sound like it's assets on a disk. Because we use the term folder for disk assets a lot. This isn't really a folder. This is a hierarchy in the scene. So I'm going to call this rock row, and then I'm going to parent all of these. Not that big, not the giant one. Oops. There we go. Move all of those onto rock row. There we go. And then I'm going to copy that and duplicate it. And where is my handle? Maybe it is a folder and I'm just misunderstanding it because I'm not used to Unreal. I cannot see any way to manipulate the folder as a whole. Wait, what have I done? Oh, I've created an empty folder. Okay. I think that a folder is not the right thing to create. Possibly. So if I select all descendants, okay, I'm just going to copy paste this. Copy, Control V, there we go. Control V. So, I mean, this should give us a few million polys, I would have thought. It's not quite on the same order of magnitude as other people's tests. It's actually covering quite a lot of ground, this. There we go. Okay, let's have a look at that. Have I? There we go. I turned the landscape off accidentally. Right, so we have got a whole bunch of rocks to explore now. Now, the frame rate is coping fairly well with all of that. I just wonder how many triangles that actually is. Let's just have a look at the nanite visualization again. Dink. Oh, Mars triangle. Let's have a look at clusters. Okay, here we go. So, right, this is interesting. This is showing us the triangle clusters that make up the surface. This is how. It's fascinating. It doesn't look like it's as voxely as I thought. I'm intrigued to like zoom in on one and just see how the clusters break down. They seem to be changing really arbitrarily. Was kind of expecting to see. So that's a whole bunch of different clusters. I wonder if they are deliberately like overlapping and irregular to minimise the visibility of lodding artifacts. Oh no, okay, right, here we go. Now that I can get this working. See that patch that's just changing backwards and forwards in the centre there? So it's mostly pink and then it's kind of like pale blue and green. Mostly pink. That little patch there is the same shape in both versions. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little clusters, and if I move the camera slightly, it's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about twice that. And I think that I can see, other patches. It's hard to tell because they're irregular, and I wonder if that they've deliberately broken the surface up into irregular patches to make it hard to spot where the lodding is happening. Because if the edges of the seams were like nice and neat and tidy like cubes, it would be really hard to spot. So what I think is happening is basically as we zoom like all the way out, you can see that all of those ones at the back there looking the same sort of like purple, the same sort of purple and blue and like red patches on every object because they're all more or less the same distance away. So it's just sending those small clusters over to the GPU. Right, that's enough of the like trying to figure out exactly how it works. Let's actually play it and see what it looks like. Okay. Right, here we go. Can I get a frame rate counter? Where's... Oh, sorry, I've exited play mode. This must be painful if you already know Unreal. I don't know where I would... Oh, I'll just run it and just look at it. I mean, it feels like this is a nice, smooth 30 at least. It's hard to tell because there's motion blur and there's the occasional little stutter. There's no collision on these rocks actually, so I can go between them whenever I like. So we've got a giant one up there. These are all... Oh, a little bit of a judder there. Let's go up to the hill and look down upon my creation. It's possible that it's stuttering just because this is the editor, which is really not the ideal way to test performance of your game, because the editor doesn't have the scene necessarily fully optimized in the same way that a compiled build will. But you know, these are all looking very good. What I should do is like turn a bunch of them round so that they look you can see them from different angles rather than the same, them all looking the same. Oh, levitating rocks. That's weirdly uncomfortable being underneath a floating rock. But you can see Lumen's working very nicely, isn't it? I mean, this doesn't really prove anything except to say sort of like, yes, Epic's tech works. But I'm interested to just like show it off a little bit and try to figure out exactly how... It's what the trade-offs are. Because of the way that it is casting into the scene to hit, which I'm pretty sure, still fairly certain it is doing that. It's casting into the scene to hit these triangle clusters, and when it hits something, it stops. And that has the effect, basically, of making every scene automatically, the nanite stuff at least, automatically fully occlusion culled. Let's have a quick look at the overdraw, nanite visualization, overdraw. Okay, so overdraw is where a pixel gets drawn multiple times, basically. So I think what we're seeing there is obviously this is only measuring the nanite stuff, not the terrain and things. But interestingly, where you can see where the nanite mesh intersects with the terrain, it stops drawing it, and you can see like the edges of those triangle clusters are getting cut off. And if I bring the camera down below the terrain, suddenly it has to start drawing all of them. You can see in a few places there's a little bit of popping there where you can, so like here for example, even though I've stopped moving the camera, there's a little bit of boiling. I suspect that's the same issue as the fizz that I was seeing before in the editor. It's not quite stabilized, even though the camera has settled. I don't know exactly why that would auto save warning. That's a cute feature. but what it's doing there is that like every now and then it's deciding that that cluster needs to be rendered, and so there's a fair bit of fizz there. I wonder if it's doing some sort of makes me think that the technique that they're using is using some sort of double buffering or something. Oh, there we go. I'm under the terrain here, but if I pop out from under the terrain, then you can see where the nanite meshes get cut off, so it reduces how much it's drawing. And then up here, you can see again. You can see where the big mesh, which I don't know if I can still edit things and move them. I can't. I can just look around at the moment. I can't edit things in this mode. But you can see where it goes a little bit pinker there. The purple is a single pass, and then that like lighter purple is where it's drawing some of the big rock behind the little rock. And you get the same thing wherever you get two nanite meshes overlap. There's a tiny bit of overdraw where the edges of it, but generally that's really good for minimising overdraw. Let's see what else we've got. Buffer visualization. I don't act. Oh god, there's base color, custom depth, custom stencil, final image. That's a lot of detail there. That's various different texture buffers that get used. Level of detail coloration. Mesh LOD coloration, hierarchical LOD coloration. That's interesting. Suggests that maybe it is storing some color in the mesh data as well as just using a texture. Or maybe it just refers to sort of like vertex coloring, possibly. Visibility collision, player collision, reflections, lighting only, detail lighting. And then obviously wireframe shows the non-nanite stuff, and nanite triangles shows the nanite triangles. Clusters, we looked at clusters, primitives. Okay, so that shows each and every individual nanite object. Instances, those are each individual instances, it appears. We looked at overdraw before. Material complexity. That is presumably a cheap material because it's green. Light map UV. Interesting. I'm not sure what the different patches mean in the sense of... Oh, it could be that those... For light mapping purposes, it takes these panels and it unwraps each of those panels as a flat section of light map. It does seem to be dividing it along corners. So where it's got found a sharp corner, it goes, I'm going to put a light map seam there and put one along there. So that's all cool. Let's go back to lit. Yeah, there's the occasional stutter, which I think is probably just because it's the editor and it's doing a bunch more work than the actual game would. I mean, I could try building this and see if how it performs. That will build everything. I don't know how long it'll take to build this. Let's give it a go. Hopefully not too long, because does that mean it's finished or is it not started yet? It did a build, looks like. And I'm done. Okay. I don't know if that actually means that it created a separate build for me to run as a standalone. Oh, I'll worry about that later. It's not going to make that much performance difference. But yeah, so basically, it just works. You can just shove nanite models into the scene. And you can see how they sit quite happily with non-nanite terrains. Oh, it's doing it in the background. I thought that was very fast. It's doing a build, but as Unreal does, it just gets on with things in the background where it can, and then gives me these progress bars when it gets round to it. That's fair enough. Okay. Wow, has that really been an hour or so? Yeah, nearly an hour of messing about with stuff. But I think that has has wrapping UVs. Is that a warning? What's that mean? It should have wrapping UVs. Okay, well this looks like my build results. That's my lighting warnings, my map check. No problems there. Play in editor. Okay, this is just my message log. I don't know where it's put it, but let's. I mean, that is an awful lot. Let's just have a quick play with Lumen on this actually. So if I grab the scene light, which is somewhere up here, skylight light source, there we go. Right, so oh, right. I thought that was because it was oh, clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, I thought it was taking a little while to calculate then because there was a bit of a pause there. No, it's just because it's snapping to increments. Let me just see if I can free rotate it with Control Shift. No, Alt. No, Control. Oh, I appear to have duplicated it. Let's delete the other one. Alright, let's try an alternative then. Oof. Okay, yeah, I can by messing with the transform here. There we go. I can do it, move it in more smoothly, and we can see the global illumination just taking just a few frames to catch up. It's not all that. It's more obvious really in the room. Interior spaces make it a lot more obvious. Oh, hello, and there's a little bit of a shadow artifact there. Can you see that? But if you move around, if you keep moving around, it kind of sorts itself out. This is only early access, so it's possible that there are a few little glitches like that that are not quite ironed out yet. Let's rotate that sunlight. There we go. Oh, that's an interesting artifact there. So it's not quite perfect. I think that's a side effect of getting it at that angle. All of these little this artifact, and then the fizzing and the overdraw glitching that we saw, all of them seem to be oscillating between two different frames, which I think is something to do with the way that it works. I'm intrigued to know if that sort of bug goes away when you do a fully compiled build, so everything is fully optimized and there's none of the editor code left in. I think that might make it significantly better. But let's just go up here and admire my creation. Okay, I'm out of ideas, and still just enjoying looking at how cool this is. This is a very smart solution. The reason that I'm so excited about this basically is that it completely automates the process of lodding, which is an enormous chore for artists. It also basically solves open worlds, really, because it does occlusion culling, because it does automatic lodding, because Unreal now has the I can't remember what it's called, but it's got a dynamic world streaming system where it will automatically subdivide all objects into cells in the world, and it will load those on demand. So I could build this terrain out to the horizon, and make myself like an 8 kilometre square space, fill it with stuff, and Unreal will just divide all of the stuff that I put in it into little chunks, and it will stream those in as you get close enough to see them. And I imagine that it is going to also be smart enough to measure the size of them to decide what the priority for streaming it is, and like large objects get streamed in first, smaller objects get left until later. All of Unreal's tech works this way, like from the texture mip mapping to the nanite models, to the open world placement. It's all about just loading in, creating metadata offline so that you've got an easy way to look this information up, and then just going, right, this is the over in the distance there's a mountain, we just need the basic mountain shape, we don't need individual pebbles and boulders, until you get close. So I think this is going to make open worlds vastly easier to create in Unreal. I think Unity will have to significantly up their game to match this, because Unity currently doesn't have anything comparable. But I'm sure they're working on something, which we will see when they've got it working, basically. Oh, why can't I move? Now I can move. There we go. Oh. Doesn't like me holding down two. Oh, okay. This is weird. The keys are sticking a little bit for moving. If I hold down forward. Anyway, so there you have it. This is Unreal 5. This is nanite rendering ridiculous amounts of triangles at a very silky smooth frame rate. You can do this too, because you just watch me clumsily cobble it all together. And yeah, I think this is going to herald quite an impressive era of open worlds that are created by much smaller teams, because it does so much of the work for you. So that's quite exciting. Anyway, I look forward to seeing the first games to come out using Unreal 5, because I'm sure that there are a bunch of studios who have been working with this engine for some time, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please go to gamedev.london, where you can find links to our Discord, where there's going to be more chat about this. There's going to be some there's going to be podcasts, and so we do a podcast every week. Probably I may be recording a podcast on this subject for Monday. We'll see, but in any case, gamedev.london is the place to go to find more of this stuff. I've been Chris Payne, and I will see you next week. Thanks very much.